Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at some more leaks or especially assets that got found in the game code right now, which is kind of interesting. So we're going to have a ton of new Pokemon that kind of got pushed into the game, and so we're gonna take a look at everything about this one as well as some new forms, and let's take a look straight into what is new. But also before, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of coming for the upcoming season, so feel free to subscribe. It's free. We're going to take a look here first at some assets, of course, all from the Pokemon group. We're going to have here some assets for upcoming costumes. We're going to have for the holiday season apparently the Psyduck there with a hat on and like a scarf. We're going to have also a new costume for Pikachu as always, but we're also going to have two costumes for Pikachu for the Go Tour, which is kind of interesting. Then we're going to have another flying Pikachu. They're usually kind of released in Japan because like the rest of the world doesn't exist anyway. And then we're going to have a very interesting t-shirt variant there. Not sure, maybe this for like New Year or something like this, I have no idea, but these are like the new costumes for today, but that's kinda interesting. What is also interesting, basically all missing Mega Pokemon got pushed into the game as well, like their forms basically, like those assets that you also like kind of see there basically, but like yeah, assets got pushed into the game, so those can get released whenever they want to. Like this is the thing with Niantic as well, a lot of times they just push out assets before, so like it does not hint towards what is coming next, but of course a lot of times stuff got leaked. There was, by the way, a leak before for Glade that was supposed to be a Mega, which did not happen. I think the Mega is also already in the code, but I don't know how, like, maybe it got like scrapped last second or something like this. But otherwise, all Mega Pokemon, like Mega Mewtwo even, is now in the code in terms of their forms, of their assets. And as you can see here, there's also a list that I put in there for like the Mega Pokemon. Mewtwo is tier 0, basically like completely what you want to have, the best Pokemon ever. And especially Mega Mewtwo X I find interesting, not too much for rating itself, but Mega Mewtwo X has both access to the fighting plus the psychic typing, giving you two Pokemon types that you're going to basically buff with that. So that I feel like is kind of interesting. Otherwise, we're going to have Mega Lucario here, which is in the tier 1, which is kind of cool. We're going to have the Mega Metagross, which is in the tier 2, which is kind of cool. Otherwise, I think the other Mega Pokemon are all kind of not too great, especially something like the, Mawile, especially the Audino. Audino is like literally one of the worst Pokemon ever, so they're not really too interesting, but still kind of interesting. All those got pushed into the game code. Doesn't mean that they come anytime close, like soon or whatever. I would expect that we're gonna get the Mega Mewtwo for the next Go Fest for like next year, so that is something that I would at least expect. Maybe it's not going to be the case, maybe it's going to be something different, but I feel like this would make quite some sense. Moving on, first Pokemon that got found in terms of the assets is Pyukumuku, and I think that this Pokemon most likely gonna get released during the Sustainability Week, which Niantic always does like somewhere in the first half of the year, so would make the most amount of sense to release Pyukumuku there. That's like, if you know the backstory, you know most likely about it as well. Like in the main series games, there's like one beach where you have to throw them back in because they cannot get back into the water on their own or whatever. It learns Counter and Mirror Code. It has great stats, as you can see here. Overall stats of 2,461 is a lot of bulk. It's kind of similar to something like a Wobbuffet, but as a water type, which is really cool. Issue is, this Pokemon does currently, of course, not learn Return. Like if you would get it as a Shadow Pokemon, you can purify it, it would learn Return theoretically. But also in the main series games, it does not learn Return. This might be an issue that I actually never really considered, but there are a lot of different Pokemon that don't learn Return or Frustration in the main series games as well, so technically they are never able to be a Shadow Pokemon in the future, which is something that we might have to consider if we think about new Shadow Pokemon that could come into the game, but this one is most likely something that's more for the decks. Next Pokemon coming up, we're going to have Mudbray as well as Mudsdale found as the assets in the game. We're going to see here already, this Pokemon learns Mud Slap, Body Slam, and Earthquake, a pure ground type Pokemon. It's not great, it's like, we don't really have to talk too much about it. It's basically just a weak variant of Donphan. It's not really unique, the stats are not that great. It's okay, but like it's not something crazy. Next Pokemon coming up, going to be Drampa. Drampa, we already had this one in a recent video because it was leaked already to be in an event with like the New Year's event for Chinese New Year for the upcoming season, which is somewhere I think in January or February, I think even February. So that's going to be interesting. So also kind of those assets that got pushed into the game code kind of showcase something as well, that the leaks that we had already prior, which I'm going to link in the end card as well, were kind of right most likely. Like most of them are most likely right because all those Pokemon that got leaked were now pushed into the game code. So it's very, very likely that we're going to get those Pokemon as well very soon for the next season. Drampa here, normal Dragon type Pokemon, going to have access to the move Fly, which is pretty rare, which is kind of cool to be seen. But again, it's not even Stab, and this Pokemon itself kind of sucks, especially, yeah. Does not really have anything towards it. Would be cool if we get something like Breaking Swipe or something like this, but otherwise this Pokemon is most likely a Dex filler. But honestly, I like this Pokemon quite a lot. I like the design, I find it cool, but sadly not as great. Moving on, again another Pokemon that we had already before, but there are going to be some more other ones as well. Going to be Cetoodle and Cetitan were found as an asset, so here we're going to see Cetitan has a little bit of play in the current meta, like against Gligar, especially Swampert, Clodsire, but there are better Ice-type Pokemon available, so I don't really think that this Pokemon going to have any play, and so, yeah, I don't think it's going to be the greatest Pokemon ever, and so, yeah, I don't think it's going to be too crazy. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to have here the Necrozma, and Necrozma's assets got found, and I'm not too surprised about it, and I think I said before in a video as well, Necrozma was teased already a year ago in a teaser, and now we have already leaks towards Ultra Beast coming in for January this next year, with Blacephalon as well as Stakataka. Necrozma does make a lot of sense because it was also in the teaser. I doubt that we're gonna get this Pokemon next season already, but I could see that the next season is building up towards another season afterwards, which is then based around Necrozma and basically trying to finish up the yeah, Generation 7 basically with that. Would be kind of cool, but here Shadow Claw, Psychic Fangs, and Stone Edge is something that it currently does not have in the move pool because the current move pool is Struggle as well as Struggle. So yeah, right now we don't really know what this is going to be. The stats itself look really cool. Again, everything which is going to have a star moving forward, we don't know the moveset, so I'm just gonna mark it here just for you to know. Like, this moveset is just something that they could learn, but we don't really know. Most likely doesn't learn Shadow Claw at the end of the day. It would be really good for this Pokemon though. And I feel like it's a really good Pokemon to have. It's also confused later on with the other legendaries, the Solgaleo and Lunala, which might be interesting for the future. But very interesting Pokemon to come. Let me know in the comment section what you think about Necrozma. I feel like it's a cool Pokemon. I really like this one. Really hated it back in the day, but I feel like it has such a cool design now. I don't know, kinda grew on me. Next Pokemon is literally one of my favorite mythical Pokemon, where the assets now got found, which is Marshadow, and I love this Pokemon so much, and I kind of want to build an XL variant of this one, because it would be really cool to have for the Master League. Here we have again a moveset that is currently not in the game code, as well as the Pokemon itself is not in the game code. The assets are in there, but like the stats or whatever are something that I had to basically put in manually for PvPoke, and so we're going to see here already with Shadow Claw, Shadow Punch, and Close Combat. It looks actually kind of balanced still, but it's definitely a very strong contender for being the best fighting type Pokemon in this meta. It's not as great as it would have been for Glorate League, but we're going to have most likely Annihilate for this eventually as well. So this Pokemon looks like a lot of fun, and honestly I can't wait to play this one. Next Pokemon coming up, going to be another Ghost type Pokemon. It's going to be Hisui Typhlosion. Again, this Pokemon got leaked in a lot for basically the upcoming season to be in a raid event. So here we're just going to take a look at the Great League. We might not even be able to use it for this. And of course, the moveset here, as there's a star, is not going to be final or like even in the code right now, as well as the entire Pokemon is again not in the code. All the Hisui Pokemon, by the way, that are coming up now as well, they're going to be a lot of them, are not in code right now. I had to code them all in myself, which takes a lot of time. So feel free to leave a like if you haven't already. It's always a lot of effort to do those videos, but as you can see here, this Pokemon would be cool against like something like Medicham having the Fire plus Ghost typing, but we already have Skeledirge, we're going to already have the Alolan Marowak, we're going to have already the Chandelure, so like this would be the next Fire and Ghost type Pokemon, very common typing apparently, which all only started I think with the Generation 5, which is kind of wild, but yeah, apparently one of their favorite typing nowadays. Very cool moveset that could learn though with Shadow Ball, Shadow Claw, as well as Flame Charge, a little bit squishier than the normal variant though, so definitely still a strong one there. Next one, of course, has to be the Hisui Samurott, by the way. For those Hisuian Pokemon, I have to put the shiny variant in there as the sprite there, because that was the only one that had, like, animated. So here you're going to see now the moveset. Fury Cutter is most likely the best fast move that I learned. it would learn Flip Turn, which is one of the first moves that I want to see in the game, but of course we don't know about this one yet. We're going to have Liquidation as well as Night Slash, which would be very cool for this Pokemon to learn as well, but still it would most likely just be a bad variant of Greninja, same typing, but a little bit worse. But all the Hisuian starter Pokemon, also the Hisuian Decidueye, they all have their own signature moves that might come into the game and might change some things up. But Hisui Decidueye is by far most likely the best looking Pokemon depending on the moveset that it gets. Here we're going to have Leaf Edge, Leaf Blade as well as Close Combat, but I would love to see Triple Arrows maybe as a fast move even for this Pokemon. But as you're going to see here, this looks fairly decent, gets a decent average rating, gets a lot of wins in the current meta. But at the end of the day, it's basically also not that different compared to something like a Chestnut, so like, it's cool, but it's not really that great either. Moving on, something that's definitely great. This Pokemon going to be insane. Here we're going to have the Origin Palkia, and we're going to also, spoiler alert, have the Origin Dialga later on. But for those Pokemon, what I just did, I didn't look at the moveset at all. I just put in the same moveset that the normal variants learn at the current time and see how those are going to act. Here we're going to see it increases the CP quite a bit, and I honestly don't know how this actually worked or whatever, but both defense plus attack are just straight up better as the normal variant, while the HP stays the same. So it's just literally a pure upgrade, which I found kind of interesting. But as you're going to see here, this Pokemon completely slaps the Master League, so I doubt that they're going to put in this moveset for this Pokemon, but it would be cool, I have to say, it would be cool. But let's take a look at Dialga next. For this Pokemon, it is having more CP than the normal Dialga right now, but it loses CP because the attack got a little bit lowered compared to the normal Dialga, but the defense got higher plus HP I think also a little bit, so that's kind of also interesting towards it, but you would lose CMP against the normal Dialga. But this Pokemon looks just insane, to be fair, so like what can I say, wins against basically everything. So I can see that they're going to nerf like the Origin Dialga and the Origin Palkia a little bit, but definitely cool Pokemon to look forward to. Otherwise, we found the Wyrdeer in the code. Wyrdeer, I already made a video before as well. I guess Double Kick would be another option for the fast move. Here I just went for the Double Stab with Body Slam and Confusion, plus Wild Charge, which is already covered for Stantler. This is the evolution of Stantler, but most likely gonna get released again as like a raid event. Maybe not, hopefully not, but again, this Pokemon most likely not going to be the craziest one anyway. The stats are not really too good for the Great League, and we can move on already. Next Pokemon coming up is going to be Wishiwashi. This Pokemon is actually kind of cool because you see like the small fish there. You kind of need, I think, the small fish at a certain HP or something turns into the school form, which you see on the right side, which just like all the Wishiwashis together. Issue is, well, you go into the school form, like Wishiwashi normally has like horrible stats. The school form has insane attack and insane defense, but still horrible stamina, and this kind of holds it back because if it had better stamina, this Pokemon would most likely be way better. But here right now in the Open Master League, actually, because it gets up to 3600 rating, which is most likely the best league for it, it is just basically a poor man's Kyogre, so most likely never going to see the light anywhere, but it's still an interesting Pokemon, I like it, I feel like the concept is kind of cool. And we can move on to the next one. Lycanrock also was already in another video for me before, where this was also leaked to be part of the new season coming up, so most likely again kind of showcases that those leaks were kind of right. And again, going to be linked in the end card as well. We're going to see here Lycanrock have currently the moveset of Crunch, Stone Edge, so as counter in the current move pool, and again, it's not really looking too good. It's just a worse variant of the Midnight form, so rather go for that and rather skip this one, unless this Pokemon I think also learns a signature move or something like this. I think it also has like an Excel Rock or something, so maybe Niantic does something towards it, but right now it is just straight up worse than the other Lycanrocks. And for the final one, yes, they put in Aegislash into the basically asset files now. So like we have the asset files for Aegislash for Pokemon Go now in the folders or whatever. So yes, Aegislash was also leaked towards the new upcoming season, and apparently those leaks seem to be right. And so yes, I do think that this Pokemon gonna get nerfed, and I feel like it would be the right choice. For me, I would love to see instead of Shadow Ball, Shadow Sneak, because it would make basically sure that it does not have like crazy fast, insane damage with Shadow Ball. And I don't think anybody wants to see a 2800 overall rating Bastion Pokemon being super fast to get to charge moves, hard hitting, double stab, great typing. it's going to be insane to take this thing down, which is like the issue. Like, it's going to definitely shift the meta. I think it's a good thing if then this Pokemon comes out, but you have to be really careful with the moveset, because Niantic cannot get rid of a move of a Pokemon. They're not allowed to. So, yeah, basically you kind of have to be a little bit careful towards it. But no matter what moveset it's going to get, Shadow Ball, or like even Shadow Ball or Flashkin as well, but like even if it's something worse than this, it's still going to be able to completely destroy Carbink and Medicham. Like, no matter really what it's going to get, because just of the typing and just of the bulk. So I feel like this can kind of kill like Medicham quite a bit, which is really good for the meta in my opinion. So I want to see it nerfed. I want to see it nerfed quite a bit as well. But it's still going to be really healthy then for the meta if it's a little bit nerfed compared to this, because it just destroys Medicham. But this is my opinion. Of course, I'm going to see like a ton of comments again about how you never should nerf anything like this, but it is too strong right now. Trust me, like, you don't want to play against it. But yeah, this is going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a ton of work, but definitely feel free to subscribe, because there's a lot of work coming up, or like a lot of content coming up for the upcoming season. So stay tuned for this, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.